But you have an elected state treasurer who's part of the administrative board, okay? And if the state treasurer was out or not available, the deputy would represent him at meetings and things of that nature.
Where contracts were decided,
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of just operational.
It gave me an opportunity to see how state government worked. It really did. And I was interested in that. It also gave me an opportunity because you were the non-civil service #2 person in the Treasury. It gave me an opportunity to be part of the Democratic team. We had an elected state treasurer, an elected secretary of state, an elected attorney general, elected highway commissioner, an auditor general, a superintendent of public instruction. And these were all part of the state administrative board.
Right.
That fulfilled the contracts and committee meetings and what have you.
And cabinet meetings that you also did weekly.
Oh, yeah. Well, Governor Williams would have a press conference twice a day. And we would meet, the cabinet would meet every day at 9 o'clock in the morning with the governor just to review what was going on, and it'll only take about 10, 15 minutes. But that was an important process for me in understanding how state government worked, okay? And I enjoyed that. But the other part of it was the political part of it. You're working for an elected state official, and you're all part of the Democratic team, okay? And you're coordinated as part of the team, and you run as part of a team. You're not individually out there, you know. So that I had an opportunity to be involved with the Democratic Party statewide. As an aside, I had the opportunity to be a delegate in 1960 when John Kennedy was nominated president, to go out to California and be part of that convention. So that was all part of my interest in training and what have you. And then we come to, during that period of time, my family was growing. And I stopped for a minute to talk about my family.
By now you had several children.
I had, I believe, 5 children by the time I was through with my career with the Treasurer's office, okay? Today I'm fortunate enough I had 9 children. One has since passed away. I've got 22 grandchildren and 7 great-grandchildren. I'm all very proud of them all. Most of them live in the Lansing area and are close by, so it makes for a very interesting family life. But putting that into context.
And you're very close to the family. Some are in politics, sort of, and some are not. Some are less interested.
Yeah. So anyway, we come to the Romney era. We've got a new constitution, okay? The Treasurer's office is split up, and we now have a legislative auditor general rather than an elected auditor general. We have an appointed state treasurer rather than an elected state treasurer. And it took a year and a half or so to implement the changes.
Right, adopted in '63 in a special election.
Yep.
And then, sure, then you go along. The first election that it affected, 1964.
Yep.
So 1965, Tom Cleary is looking at, now what?
What am I going to do? I've got 5 children, okay? I kind of like it. My wife and family like it in Lansing. I kind of like it in Lansing. So I had an opportunity to, and I thought about it. I think I'll give lobbying a chance.
Was that so automatic a decision, though? I mean, you could have stayed in government too, in some role, I assume, with your knowledge, even though it was even though it was partisan. Was how doesn't naturally seem like you would say, let me give lobbying a try when
That's a
it's a
good
risk.
point. It's a good,
It's a
well,
risk.
absolutely. I did not think about staying in state government. Well, you know, you're a Democratic appointee, and now you have a Republican governor, and you're going to have a Republican appointment. So, right, it's a good point, Larry. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought, well, I've got the experience. I understand government. I understand politics. Okay. I think I'll give lobbying a try, see how it works. Talked it over with my wife and family and said, you know, let's give it a try. And I had one client to start off with, and went on from there.
And that client,
That client, the first client, Larry, was dog racing.
right.
And I had a contract for a year, and we had it's interesting, in 65, in first part of 65 when I started, we had a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate, and of course Governor Romney.
Governor Romney.
There was a syndicate, a group of respected investors who wanted to get the law changed to permit dog racing in Michigan. Well, there were other groups that wanted dog racing also. But anyway, and we were not successful in that attempt.
That attempt never was successful in
No,
Michigan.
right.
And so,
Well, and there are two reasons why dog racing was not accepted. The evangelical churches in Michigan were opposed to dog racing because it was an expansion of gambling, okay? And also, the horse racing industry was exposed to gambling because they didn't want the competition
Right.
of dog racing.
it was basically the only legal gambling we had.
Right. To this day, there's no dog racing
There's
in
no dog
Michigan.
racing.
And for a number of years, there has not been any attempt.
Yeah.
In fact, the biggest attempt right now is to preserve horse racing. So, but anyway, that was my first year, my opportunity to get my feet wet. The head guy of this investment group that I worked for was Win Schuler, and he was a fun guy to work with. Okay.
Owner of a famous restaurant in Marshall, Michigan.
Right, and it was still there. And we'd take groups of lawmakers over to Marshall to talk to Win and to get a feel for what we're trying to do and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But it also gave me a chance to get my feet wet as a lobbyist.
Right, and so what you did was not just decide to become a lobbyist, you essentially created something Michigan didn't have before, which was a multi-client lobbyist.
Right.
Rather than a lobbyist for one entity, one group.
And I really didn't think that through, that that's what I was doing, but that is in fact what I did. And at that time, big lobbying efforts, if you had a big problem, you probably hired a law firm in Lansing, okay? But there were associations coming into the lobbying field, okay, that wanted to get involved and didn't really know how to go about it. And so I had an opportunity to, in the first two or 3 years, to do lobbying work with associations. And they often didn't understand government at all. And to me, it was a great opportunity to kind of teach groups that hired you, well, now wait a minute, tell me about what you're concerned about and what you expect from the legislature. And are you looking for a lobbyist just to protect your interests? Or are you looking for a lobbyist to accomplish something, to get a bill passed or to achieve something? So I found that opportunity to teach leadership of associations how government worked.
And that was a niche that other people who called themselves lobbyists didn't do at the time, to do work with associations and organizations in some role,
That's correct.
an administrator or...
And it took about 3 to 5 years to pick up and have 4 or 5 clients, okay? And then to really see if I was going to stay in it. And it worked out.